it is time. The moment I'd say everyone's been waiting for. At this point, we are now going to give my thoughts, my final review of this particular game. Well, this game in its current state, again, it's very important to state that. Basically, this is a... I want to say it's okay. The first game that came to mind when I started playing this, or even when I first saw gameplay of it, was Watch Dogs. Well, everyone's comparing it to GTA, but I don't really think it's got anything really that similar to GTA. It does feel more Watch Dogs, as in a restrained sandbox game, without the ability to actually explore the open world. Yes, at the end of the game, you can explore the open world through side missions and things like that, but it's a very, very hollow city. There's almost next to nothing in it. Now, again, before we get into the bugs of the game, let's talk about the game as it is. I'm going to ignore any of the bugs in this portion of my review, because I want to actually discuss the game, and I'm going to pretend those bugs were not hindering me throughout the game, okay? I'm ignoring performance issues. I'm ignoring bugs for the first bit of this review. Let's discuss the gameplay. So it really, when everything is kind of working, let's just assume, like I said, it's optimized. And I turned off, you know, those things to actually get it to work. The gameplay definitely didn't, like, de-ridged, if that makes sense. It was less rigid. It felt better. It actually was a doable thing. However, it was still kind of slow-paced. It felt like you weren't able to really move that quickly. Everything felt like if you weren't in cover and you were out in the open for a little too long, you were going to drop health fast as can be. Like, it was going to be the fastest thing you'll ever see. So the best thing you can really do is try and find a cover spot and hope that you can take out the enemies as quickly as possible. Like I said, without the hindrances of the optimization and turning off the frame gen, we did lose the frame rate, but everything felt so much more polished at that point. Like, the gunplay was vastly improved. There was no delay whatsoever. Everything was relatively solid in terms of that. But like I said, it did feel kind of generic at times. I felt like there was some cheap shots where enemies would spawn in from behind you, and like they would just literally pop off. Like, I proved it multiple times where I looked everywhere, cleared the area, and I'm moving forward. Next thing you know, there's a guy right in this back area. I don't know he's there because he's not firing yet, because they only appear on the map unless you scan, or if they start firing at you. That's how you know there's an enemy there. So if you're not thinking to scan at that particular time, I don't know if you guys saw towards the end of the game, I did scan a lot more. And that really did help things out. That's one thing I could suggest, is make sure you scan, because they will spawn behind you. That is annoying, and they'll get a couple of cheap shots at you and you're dead before you know it. Which leads me to the point where if you do die in this game, it does kick you really, really far back. Like, as in, like, the checkpoints, there's a lot of content in between A and B checkpoints, and if you run into an issue that might not be your fault, or just the gameplay itself is letting you down in some fashion, because like I said, even though it did start feeling better as we figured out that don't turn on all this extra stuff to get it to look smoother, just play the game like this thing. You can tell the AI generation, or the frame generation rather, was really, really making a mess out of things. It really was making a mess out of the gameplay, but otherwise you have to watch through 20 frames, you know? So it was kind of like an interesting back and forth with it. Throughout that experience, though, it was just, I don't know, the lack of checkpoints, or just even just like the spaces in between those checkpoints were very drawn out too, so there'd be a moment where you have to follow it, but the AI is so moronic in a lot of cases, whether it be your teammate's AI or the person you're following, or just the opponent AI anyway. Like, they never miss you, but they move around very oddly. It's very strange how they move around everywhere. So it just feels like they're droning on this one particular scene to make the game longer, to give it more content, when there's really not a lot in it. You know, no matter where you are, whatever mission you're on, it just feels like they ran out of time in every orifice of the game, and they're just trying to make it seem like you're getting more for your money than you actually are. Because, like I said, it doesn't matter what mission you're doing, it was so repetitive. There was nothing really unique until eventually we ran into that one mission where we had to do a random puzzle out of nowhere. We do the puzzle one time. Do we see another puzzle like that ever again? No, we don't. It happened one time. It felt out of place and out of, like, I mean, I like that they were changing it up, but it was just super random. It didn't really add or make sense for the game at that particular time. So, obviously, with the gameplay being pretty mediocre, The repetition of the missions, regardless of what the context of the mission is very much the same no matter how you play it. The lack of checkpoints and the fact that they drone on like that particular gameplay sequence in between those checkpoints, you run into an issue like you're in an open world looking game, and if you veer too far out of this little circle that you're supposed to be in for that particular mission, they fail you automatically and you have to go all the way back or whatever. You might make one little mistake and spend like 10 minutes getting from point A to point B because the checkpoint was 10 minutes ago, and you accidentally go too far in the wrong direction. Guess what? Restart from the beginning of that particular checkpoint, which could be annoying if you make a mistake again or something else goes wrong. So I absolutely could not stand that. I thought the pacing of the game was rather poor. I did not love, like, the thing is, the storyline was actually something I could get behind. You know what I mean? I felt like the idea and the concept, while in to a degree, like the whole, you know, beings are from here, blah, like, you know, we don't know who they are, they're kind of unknown, and then we end up finding out like they might have a bit of a control on us. But the whole implant thing, I feel like it's been done, it's just been rethemed, and I don't blame them for that because there's always someone who does it before you. I think it was they were quite creative in how they were turning this into their own thing, so I got to give them credit for the story. There were elements of the story that I thought were not bad. You know, I felt like, okay, I can get behind it, but unfortunately, in order to get to those moments, you have to suffer through the gameplay and just all the issues we had. So it really almost became completely negligible to what the story could have been, like one of the best stories you've ever seen and like the most entertaining thing. You were constantly pulled away from the story because of the issues in the game, and it completely was so everything we ran into was such a distraction. I was so focused on just like this and trying to work my way around the problems we were facing, like I said, excluding the optimization, that it just I kind of, the story wasn't strong enough to maintain my attention and do it. At the end of it, I just kind of wanted to get through the game and finish it. And as you saw, I was just by the skin of my pants throughout the entire game, barely like changing settings on the fly, and I still pretty much got, I mean, I had to replay that one level just to get my platinum, or my all achievements achievement, if you will, and we ended up getting all of our achievements in that one run. So basically, without even trying, I basically got all the achievements for the game. Now, they have side content in the form of drop, you know, like the drop, like, you know, you can build your own missions or you can play the ones they have, but they don't do anything for you. There's nothing really other than being on a leaderboard or getting a gold. You don't get an achievement for them. I'm actually kind of happy they do that. But the fact as well that there is no perk to replaying the game, and I don't think you're going to want to. You know what I mean? Like, the AI is just one of the biggest fails of this particular game. Like, I honestly cannot tell you how much of a fail this AI is. It's just so dense. Like, for example, that one chase scene where I had to follow Claudia all the way to, like, through that ridiculous, like, through the city and up and around. She's cutting people off and she's ramming into walls. You know, she's doing the stupidest stuff. Mind you, it was very funny, don't get me wrong, it made us laugh, but in a game that costs $60 US, like, that is insane and unacceptable, especially when, you know, you have this team who has experience, or at least you think they have experience, but things start to make sense the more you play it. Now, so in terms of that, I'd say the only glimmer this game has so far, based on what I've discussed, is the story had potential. I feel like it's got that potential, and it had the chance to do something different and unique, but it just feels like a clone of a bunch of different games that they ran out of time to make. So they like borrowed elements from game here, and then they just were under a budget, and I felt like this game was supposed to be open world and you could start the mission whenever you want. You can drive around, do side content, but they literally needed like another 2 to 3 years to actually make that come true. And let's be honest, the suits were probably like, we're not going to make that work, release it now. I can almost promise that's what happened, because the devs knew exactly what was going on as soon as the release. Why do you think nobody got a review code? Why do you think there was no, like, you know, like, there's nothing leading you to believe that this game was going to be a good game to play? I knew there were red flags all over the place, and so did a lot of other people. Mind you, like I said, if you strip away the issues, it's not bad, but it's not great. It's honestly like, it's more so on the bad that I'd say it's a below average game, but it's not like total garbage. I feel like if things were fixed, like if the game was optimized and they released it when it was pretty much ready, even this is the game and you're stuck to this linear story which doesn't really expand on anything, you'd probably get maybe a 4.5 to a 5 out of 10 from me. You know what I mean? I feel like if everything worked, because the gameplay got a lot better, like I said, once I found the right tweaks and things like that. But, and there was a couple of stealth, like the prison level, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, the stealth elements, you know, there's some certain little glimmers of hope here and there. But like, there just wasn't anything that made me go, bro, this is a game you should be buying. And the thing is, even when the game comes down in price, like, the game will have to come down dramatically in price and be optimized before I can even recommend this. And honestly, I would say this is one of those games that if it does get optimized, like fully optimized where it works as intended, and you're not running into any of these issues, you're gonna probably, I would honestly recommend it if it's like 15 to 20 US dollars. That's the kind of game we're dealing with here, because let's be honest, it's one of those games that will drop in price. I promise you this is gonna drop quick, even with the optimization fixed. You might as well save your money and get it if you really had your eye on it, your mind's eye on it. You'd probably be better off just saving, because like I said, you're gonna hate it in this current state. So I think it's better to wait, and you'll be like, and even at the end of the day, if you're like, this game isn't that great, like I've been saying, even with everything fixed, you'll at least have the peace of mind knowing that you didn't spend an arm and a leg just to get it. You know what I mean? At this point, you're like, I only spent 20 bucks for it, whatever. I enjoyed my time with it, because it probably would take you, like I said, maybe like it took me like 12 hours. It'd probably take you less if everything works. So just to keep that in mind, for like 20 bucks or something like that, and you spend 10 to 14 hours on it, that's a pretty good bargain for something like this. I can definitely recommend it. Now, excluding all of that, to summarize the game without the issues: bad AI, repetitive missions, the checkpoints are too far apart, the enemies are like goated in certain elements, like, so even though their AI, the AI is really dumb, they spawn randomly. There's inconsistencies with a lot of the with the design, but like I said, the entire story itself had potential, and the level design itself, like being in certain areas, was cool. So it's got those things going for it. So to summarize that, that's what we're dealing with. And from the sounds of that, it's like I said, I'd probably give it a 4.5 or a 5 based on this kind of experience. I wouldn't doom rate it, but it wouldn't be great. It would probably, like, it'd be kissing the 5. I think I'd be more comfortable giving it a 4.5 if it worked. Okay, if it worked. That's a very important thing to say. Now, let's get down to what everyone's been on about. This game was released way too soon. It needed so much time to work out this optimization. I've played a lot of games that have had optimization issues at launch. It's a part of gaming nowadays. You just got to get used to it. Eventually they'll dial it in and you'll have a nice smooth game. But the thing is, this game is so insanely unoptimized. It's so inconsistent across each platform, whether you're playing on PC or PS5. It's not very feasible to play it on a regular PS5. People on PS5 Pro are having to put it in the performance mode to get anything smooth, and you're not gonna, and it's gonna descale, and the game isn't gonna look as good anyway. People with 5080 cards, 5090 cards, 4080, 4090 cards are struggling to hit a consistent 60 frames, and those are some, like, what people consider to be top tier cards. They're struggling to get that. While they're probably having the least problems out of all of us. When you say that the minimum spec card is a 2060, that is not a very intense card. That card can't handle that much. And when this is a minimum spec set to a 2060, and you need a 4070 plus to, or whatever they said, a 5070, whatever they said, to run this game at least decently, that is insane. The amount of issues I've experienced, just not even being able to dial anything in, whether I drop the resolution, whether I change all the settings to low, whether I window, when I run it in a windowed mode, like actually like a tiny little box, it doesn't matter what you do to the game, you're running into these problems. And it is so distracting. The fact that I had to choose between a smoother frame rate by turning on, you know, FMR, or by having, like, the vehicles actually work, or the weapons work to reduce latency, I had to turn it off. Like, it's one or the other. I had to either pick a really bad frame rate, or I have a smooth frame rate and everything be slightly delayed and really clunky. So because of that, that is going to annihilate this game down to the bottom of the barrel. And considering I already said I wanted to give this a 4.5 or even a 4 out of 10, what else is left to give it? Now, like I said, this is one of those games that it's so hard to review because I know this is a temporary situation for it. Like it's not gonna, like when it does get optimized, there's no reason this will be a pretty average game that you can pick up for cheaper later on, and I would recommend it. But right now, in this current state, the only thing I could say positive about this particular build, and not including, you got to remember too, they said they released a patch for this thing and they just blatantly lied about it. So between that and the shady business practices and like talking about, you know, saying, oh, like we really here are the patch notes, it's available now. It literally says on their patch available now when the patch is nowhere to be seen. It's not actually up there. Blatantly lying so that people will still buy it. You know what I mean? We'll still buy the game for you to, you know, to like, oh, they must have fixed the problems. I'm going to go buy it that everyone's been talking about. That's what that was. It was a damage control thing, and they still don't have a patch. It's lying. You cannot trust a dev team like this, especially when it's their first project. Now you've ruined all trust with your audience and with your consumer base. So right now, I have to say, with the shady business practice of that, the poor optimization, the fact that the game is pretty mediocre to begin with, and the only thing I really liked about the game, or not even liked, but I want to give it a nod about, was I feel like the level design was pretty good. It was interesting. It had something cool to look at. It was unique everywhere you went, more or less. But and also at the same time, the story had potential. I feel like the story was the only thing really keeping us alive. So with all that factored in, and again with this like 1.0 release, no patch in sight. I don't know when the hell the patch is coming. Ignoring the fact that the patch could fix all this, in this current state, I am giving this game a 1.5 out of 10. It is atrocious right now. It is absolutely horrendous. It is not the lowest score I've given a game, but my God, it gets that extra little 1.5 for the like couple of things that I could see. Otherwise, it'd be lower. But honestly, like I cannot recommend this game ever until they fix that, until the price comes down. This is, even like I said, even if they release this game and they fix the patch within a few days, I still wouldn't recommend you buy it. With a patch and everything running smoothly, like I said, you're going closer to a 5 out of 10 for me. But in this current state, I cannot give it anything higher than that. I honestly was thinking about a 2. I'm like, I think, is 1.5 fair? Is it too low? And then I started thinking about all the other shit they did. If they were open and honest about their release and things like that, and they didn't try to pull wool over everyone's eyes, it might have been given a 2, maybe a 2.5, because I know these things are going to be fixed. But right now, man, it's a 1.5. I know that's really, really low, but that is just the nature of the game. And the way it's going to be. So until things are fixed, like I said, that's an asterisk. I feel like that's an asterisk score. I've never had an asterisk score before, but 1.5 in pre-patch build. And again, normally there's supposed to be a day 1 patch anyway, and we never got the day 1 patch. They even said there's going to be a day 1 patch. The devs said that, and then they faked the patch notes. And even though the patch notes are probably real, they just released what they were going to fix, but said it was out. Like, that to me is just insane. And I'm just like, fuck you. Like, that's just wild work. So, yeah, like I said, is this game a no, like never ever touch it? No, it actually isn't. That's what's so interesting about this review is like, I would say it might be worth picking up once they fix all the stuff and it goes on sale for cheap. Honestly, it really isn't that bad. I feel like when they dial things in, there is like, and the build mode sounds really cool. So there's options here. There is content here to be had, but it's just not ready. This game was not ready. It's basically, this is like a pre-alpha, it felt like. I've never played a full release at pre-alpha, so they need to check themselves. So for now, 1.5, but that is an asterisk. It's funny because like that is such a low score. It might be like my worst game of the year. But the problem is by the time I do my reviews, I mean, I might have to specify if we get down there, depending how bad things get. If it does, like, you know, if they do patch it, I'll have to put an asterisk on the fact that, you know, it might get better. So that's the only thing I consider. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that. So I'm going to go ahead and end this now. Guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it regardless. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this. If you did, obviously make sure you leave a like on it. Comment your thoughts below, of course, and be sure to subscribe if you're new. Turn on those post notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss anything I put out here on the channel. Be sure to follow my social pages. Got a Facebook, X, Instagram, Snapchat, and a Discord. Those are linked in the description. If you guys want to get yourself a shirt or a hoodie of mine, there's a link in the description for that. Also, an embedded feature right below that'll show you a preview of some of the items you can get. Ultimately, just go to the website for the full range of products there. Big shout out to all the sponsors: DXRacer, Bones Coffee, The Ridge Wallet, Mad Avatar 2, Jinx Custom Controllers. I use their products daily, and you can check them out for yourselves with the links in the description. Be sure to use my promo code DANQ8000 to save a checkout with those guys. If you do want to send something to my P.O. box, there's an address in the description as well. I will open those on either a post or a live stream or a video, whatever makes the most sense in the future. And finally, guys, be sure to check out and sign up for the Team 8000 membership program if you haven't done so yet. It does support the page immensely. There's 4 tiers, 4 price points, with the entry level starting at just 99 cents. It's a cheap and easy way to get into the program, but across all those tiers, you'll get things like custom badges by your name, custom emojis used in chat, exclusive video and stream access, priority and open lobbies, giveaways, discounts, and plenty more. If you want to check that you guys want to gift members or send supers, there is a link in the description for that. Or sorry, there is a join button right below the stream, and there's also a section on my main channel page as well. So check that out. Appreciate it, guys. Hopefully, we will see you soon for some more content. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Take care. Peace.
Who's the man with the plan? If you feel trouble, wild and wild on these violent and hit you 8,000. Wait a minute, hold that stylist style. Damn, goddamn Billy Jack, we still riding tires flat. I hear them sirens, see shots flying, so we driving fire back. If they ain't vibing, lie with that. Got me dressed up in all black. What up? Hood up, and I see them haters try to run with us. They gon' need inhalers. Gotta breathe them hard just like Darth Vader. Players, grab your respirators. Night invaders get lightsabered. Mask on for the shooters, move like trash to bed intruder. Got that Glock and got them woofers. Just press play, I'll keep it moving. Who is not? Still you damn fools. Keep it fresh like canned food. There ain't nothing we can't do, so tune into that damn Q. Yeah. It was never, ever a game.